Hey everybody, always Dizzy here. And here it is, my last round report from the 2024 BC Open. This is round 6 that we're going to look at, and it was a 6 round tournament, so this was the final round. As a reminder, going into the final day, I was 3 out of 4, and then I lost round 5. My opponent played perfectly, I believe. He had 11 average 10 to point loss, so he played very well, and that eliminated my chances of placing for a prize or trophy or a top 3. And so last round, lately I haven't been staying an extra night. Sometimes I stay an extra night in the hotel room so that I don't have to rush back home. But this hotel was too expensive to do that. It was $250 a night before taxes and hotel fees. So I checked out before I went to round. Before I went to round 5, I had already checked out of my hotel room. And anyways, I was paired up against Ilan Keshet. I hope I pronounced that correctly. And after the game, he actually contacted me online, and he's actually been watching my streams lately. So very high chance he's actually going to watch this video. So hello. And again, I hope we're pronouncing the name correctly. He said that some of his friends call him Ilan, but I think it's more, I don't know. I think probably the L has the intonation is on the L, right? So Ilan, I'm guessing it's Ilan. Okay, sorry about that. So going into this round, I didn't have any time to prepare or anything like that. Didn't even know who I was paired up against. And overall, I was a bit dejected going into this game after the previous round, which was, kind of a tough one to lose. It's not like I was winning that game and then blundered it, but also getting steamrolled is kind of tough as well, especially when my opponent was, I think he was 1,300. Yeah, so, that's rough. And losing the previous round, I lost any chances of gaining rating this tournament. That's always not, that's the worst. Because I care about rating gain or rating loss more than I do placing in a tournament, because placing in a tournament requires a lot of luck, honestly. So I lost any chances of placing well, winning prize money or a trophy. And I was also pretty tired at this point. Going into the last round, you're usually pretty tired. And I was not looking forward to my long trek home. And also because I had to catch the last ferry, which would be a bit of a wait. So it's like after this round, it's something like a 5-hour travel home. But at the same time, I was going to try my hardest and try to limit the damage that has been done, losing the first round and then losing round 5. And that's the mature way to approach tournaments. Holy crap. Okay, sorry. No, my mouse was over the record button. I thought I wasn't recording, but no, I was recording. And the only other thing I think I will say here, a couple more things. This was actually the highest rated player I played I was paired up against all tournament. So he was rated 1512. Yeah, just kind of frustrating. It was a under 1800 section, and he's the highest rated player I played. So, that's terrible for your rating. Plus with, most of the players being very underrated. yeah, I don't know. So I didn't even play anybody that was over 15-12. And I do have, I want to show a couple photos of my opponent. I didn't do that for my previous opponents because I didn't ask them permission. And yeah, so I don't know. I didn't, but I actually asked Ilan if it would be okay, and he said fine. So just thought I'd show his photo. He was, let me load that up here. He was very expressive. Like I saw him earlier in the tournament, because I noticed him because he was very expressive over the board. Like he would often, he reminds me of, oh God, I'm so bad with name recall, but you know, kind of how Nepo is very expressive, and Hikaru, and sorry, I can't think of the other player that I really want to. Yeah, my memory has been getting really bad with names lately. You know, he's very. I'm thinking of that player. Okay, let me know in the comments. But I'm thinking of that player who's also very good at checkers. Shoot, I can't remember. Anyways, but yeah, I remember because he'd often be like making a lot of facial movements, and it was just kind of interesting to watch somebody that's very into the game. So yeah, that was my opponent, and let me turn this off. There's a couple of photos here, and at the start of the round, it was kind of unusual. Something happened. I couldn't really understand what the organizer was saying. She has a bit of a strong pronunciation, but for some reason, everyone was in the tournament hall. You know, everyone was seated. It was time to start the clocks, but I don't know. I guess there was a technical issue. Maybe the DGT boards weren't set up properly or something, but we all ended up waiting for, I don't know how long. It's hard to say. I'm going to guess 15 minutes. I think that's a reasonable guess. Approximately 15 minutes. And so everyone was just sitting there, and I don't know. It was a little frustrating. I just wanted to get the game started, and the room got louder and louder and louder because there were so many kids, and the longer we waited, the louder it got because people were getting impatient. So it was actually like extremely loud. So yeah, that was again a little frustrating. But finally the game got underway, as I will with this video. So here we go, playing a 15-12, and I was black. Okay. Okay, so here we go. My opponent opened with D4. Now, this was the second D4 I faced in the tournament? Yes, I believe it was. I played knight F6, and he played knight C3, which was slightly unexpected. I don't know. I was assuming C4 or the London. Now, I'm not even sure if I've seen knight C3 in a tournament before. I don't think I have. Actually, you know what? I can check because I am in chess base right now. So let me check. No, that's the first time. Funny, hey? Yeah. So that's the very first time I've ever seen this position in a tournament. So I played D5, and he played bishop F4. And I actually don't face the Jobava London frequently online. So I knew that I would be more or less out of book pretty quickly here. I know some very general ideas, and of course I faced it before, but compared to my other openings, I barely know this at all. So yeah, which I honestly didn't mind too much, because I just wanted to play a game of chess, really. And yeah, so I played E6. He played knight B5. And yeah, there's a few different ways to respond to this. Obviously, the threat is white wants to go to c7. I've always liked, I forget what line, like if it's main line, like if it's second main line or not, but I've always liked the computer's idea, or at least one of the ideas of this little bishop maneuver of going bishop b5 and then rerouting it to a5, defending that way. I've always found that kind of cute. Ever since I saw that, I actually employ that idea in other positions where this type of thing happens. I don't know, I've always liked that idea. But I played 96 because this is part of my repertoire. He played e3. And here, I knew, or so here I believe that c6 was the main line. That's what I thought at the time. And then I thought that bishop e7, should I do arrows? Do you guys need arrows? You guys can follow along, right? Without arrows. And I thought that bishop e7 was my actual repertoire move. But I decided to play c6 here anyways, just because I wasn't 100% sure that bishop e7 is what I play. And so it turns out it was actually the other way around, that bishop e7 is the main line. Really, it really doesn't matter. But yeah, so I did play c6. And yeah, he played knight c3. And then I played b6. So I don't actually recall b6 being a move, like a common thematic move against the Jobava. Again, I don't know the Jobava very well, but as you can tell, this is only move 6. At the same time, I didn't know why I couldn't play it. Like, why can't I play b6? It seems fine. It helps support c5, opens up our bishop to protect our knight, and so that I don't have to move the knight back. And since I didn't know the opening very well, I thought b6 might be interesting because it seems fine, and it might get my opponent out of book here, just because, yeah, it's probably like a bit of a sideline. And yeah, so I thought it would make sense here to make some slightly different moves just to get my opponent maybe outside of his comfort zone, or at least outside of his known territory. He played a3, which, yeah, I don't really know why he played it. I don't really understand the point. Is bishop b4 annoying for white in the Jobava? Maybe. I don't know. I don't know if it's really that much of a problem, though. I mean, he can just go queen d2. Like, if I go bishop b4, he has queen d2. But then maybe he has to play a3 eventually. I don't know. Maybe it makes sense. I played bishop d6 in response. And I spent a few minutes debating here between bishop e7 and bishop e6. Just because, so bishop e7, I think my concern was white going knight f3 and then bringing that knight to e5 and then having myself think that eventually I would need to challenge that. Then it might help to put the bishop. I don't know. I was thinking kind of along those lines. But I ended up playing bishop d6. I also might have been thinking of, I think I was also thinking of if he responded with bishop g5. Yeah, and then h6 and then bishop h4. So I'll put it on board. So I was thinking of this as well, and I wasn't sure if I liked that or not. And I'm not sure what I would have done. I don't know if, I can't remember what I was planning. I might have actually, I don't know if I could have pulled the trigger in g5. Yeah, I'm not sure what I would have done. I might have castled and then brought this knight back. No, that doesn't help. That doesn't help. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I was prepared to play g5 here. Whoops. g5. Come on. I get all these dialogue boxes from chess space. Yeah, I think I was actually prepared to go for this. And then I don't know how I would continue here. 94 potentially. Yeah, I don't know. But anyways, I did play bishop d6. And my opponent played knight f3. And I traded bishops here. I know that the double pawns don't hurt white, but I still didn't really want to deal with this bishop g5. You know, that is kind of annoying. And honestly, like at this point, with not knowing the opening, I was fine just going like if we trade and go to an endgame, I'm okay with that. Plus the double pawns do kind of very, very, very slightly help me in an endgame. Yeah, so I took on f4. He recaptured. I castled. Then he played knight e5. And I played c5. I just kind of, I mean, I need space. And yeah, I need to get some action going. And we can't keep the pawn on c6. And it doesn't make sense to really just defend it and play passive. So I played c5. He played bishop e2. Right? Because white doesn't really want to take because I can just take with my knight. My knight is centralizing. And he gets rid of a strong center pawn and an anchor for his knight. So he played bishop e2. I took on d4. And he played knight b5. Yeah, honestly, in the game, I mean, I was kind of tired. I don't remember if I had actually considered knight b5. I think I assumed that he would take with the queen. But I can't remember. This was close to 3 weeks ago now. Yeah, so he played knight b5. I played knight c7. And he took. Okay, so in this position, it's not very comfortable. You know, I didn't love the position. I didn't think it was terrible, but I didn't love it. It was a little uncomfortable. For me, there's really one thing that kind of stands out here, and it's the fact that black's light squared bishop is not so great because of these, whoops, come on, chess base, because of these 3 pawns here, right? And the only action that the bishop has is, okay, possibly on bishop b7, maybe the d pawn can move down the road, or going to a6. So, and conversely, white's light squared bishop is actually fairly good because he has some attacking options with it. So I thought it would make sense to trade bishops here, and so I played bishop a6, trying to trade off my bad light squared bishop. He played f3, which, yeah, I think I remember thinking that was strange. Okay, well, the only thing that makes sense is that he didn't want me to go to e4. So maybe it's not that strange. But does he actually need to worry about that? Because, like, can't he just play f3 if I play knight e4? For example, castles, and then knight e4, and then f3, you know? Doesn't that make more sense? Yeah, so I didn't really understand. I don't know. I don't think f3 is that great of a move. So after f3, I spent 9 minutes on my reply. And I wanted to dislodge white's knight on e5 because it's just annoying. right? It's annoying. And he's always got some threats on c6. And I don't know. The knight on e5 is annoying. So I wanted to dislodge it, but at the same time, I didn't want to undouble his f-pawns. Because if I can avoid doing that, then in an endgame, the endgame looks just slightly better and better the further we get closer to an endgame. Yeah, so I was looking at a way to play f6, essentially, to kick that knight out. But I didn't want to go knight d7. I think... Yeah, well, because knight d7, what am I doing? Actually, I wonder if I could have done that and then played f6, because it wouldn't have made sense to go knight d7 and then take his knight, because he just gets a strong pawn on e5. But I wonder, did I not consider knight d7 and then f6? Maybe I didn't like knight e... Well, let me put it on board. Maybe I didn't like this. Yeah, because that's kind of awkward, to say the least. Yeah, because how do I kick out these knights now? So I probably didn't like that. Yeah, so I ended up playing knight h5. Same idea. I want to play f6. Now part of why I spent 9 minutes on this is because I wanted to be very careful that my knight wasn't going to get trapped or lose a tempo. But yeah, I saw that his f4 pawn is undefended, and that's not easy for him to deal with. And I can always go back to f6 in an emergency here. Plus, I do attack f4. And I think I was also looking at queen h4. I was looking at this as well, and I think that is good for me if I remember correctly. For example, if white played something like, I don't know, rook c1. Yeah, we have queen h4, and then we have this super famous type of tactic, right? So yeah, queen h4 was a threat, and then if he moves the king, well, that's like I'm also winning the pawn on f4. So yeah, this seemed to make sense to me, knight h5. And he played g3, stopping queen h4 and defending f4. And obviously I saw this before I played knight h5. And I decided that I would just leave the knight there, because he can't actually attack it, because if he pushes the pawn, again I have queen h4, but I also just have taking the pawn on f4. And so he can't actually attack my knight. Yeah. So I continued with my plan, f6. And again, this is what I had considered when I played knight h5. Again, even though my queen can't go to h4 here, if he ever pushes, his pawn is undefended. So it's kind of an interesting position. Seems dangerous for my knight, but this is always a problem for him. Knight takes f4. Water time. Okay, so he played knight ec6. Because he didn't really have a great other option. Well, maybe he did. I guess he did have other options. But yeah, he went knight ec6, played queen d7, protecting my pawn, right? And he took on a6. I recaptured. And he played queen e2. I played knight c7 because he's attacking e6 twice. And he castled. So, yeah, also around this point, we were pretty tired. I mean, again, he's very expressive, and, we're both kind of like sighing. He got up a lot to walk around and get water. And again, it's the last round, and we had to wait already along like 15 minutes before the round started. And yeah, so we're tired. So he castled here. And also there was kind of a lot of tension around this point. Like there was these series of 5 or 6 moves. Yeah, there was a lot to consider and think about, and it burned a lot of our energy, or at least my energy. Yeah. And then once we traded a few pieces here, or a couple pieces, some of the tension was released and the position got slightly more simplified. And so, yeah, this was kind of like I don't know. We got a bit of a breather. I don't know how to describe it, but yeah, with some of the more of the tension released, we kind of just have a new position. I played rook f8, defending the pawn further, and I actually spent 5 minutes on rook f8. I don't remember why it took me so long to play it. But this was part of an issue I had in this game, was poor time management. My time management has actually been fairly good overall in my recent tournament games. Online it's terrible, but over the board it's pretty good. But in this game, yeah, I spent too long on a lot of simple moves, and I think it was just being burned out in general. I think I was also just tired from the previous round. And then losing that round, and I burned a lot of energy out of the opening in round 5, and I think that was a big part of it too. So after this is move 19. After move 19, I was down to 40 minutes already. So I was playing a little slow, right? This is past the halfway point, and it's move 19. Yeah, that's a bit slow, being down to 40 minutes. It's not terrible, but it's not. Yeah, it is a little slow. My opponent played queen d2, which the computer said was a bit of a mistake. And yeah, Ilan spent a whopping 17 minutes on this decision. I think he was a bit burned out as well. And he was probably also kind of frustrated, again, like wanting to push g4, but not being able to because of knight f4. Like this is just kind of a funny little standoff here that these pawns can't really move. And also his h pawn can't move, right? His h and g pawns can't move because I'm just going to take on, well, I'll either take on g3 or I'll take on f4. So it's really funny. This knight stops this whole advance. And yeah, so he played queen d2, and he spent 17 minutes on it. I don't know why he spent so long, apart from trying to figure out this little puzzle here of how to proceed here, and probably just being tired as well. I played e5. Just getting more space and starting to break open the position. And he played knight b4. Is this right? Yeah, this was, and then things got complicated again. So knight b4, you might at first be wondering, wait, what? But the point is, if I take on, I'll put it on the board for you lazy people that don't do it in your head. So if I take on d4, then my knight does become trapped here, and that's why he spent long on this move. He was trying to figure out a solution to all of this here. So now the queen protects f4 so that I can't go knight takes f4. And yeah, so after knight b4, I spent another 4 minutes, and this is starting to add up now. Remember, I was down to 40 minutes, and then I spent 4 minutes on the next move. This does add up. So this was kind of poor time management. So a little slow on my reply. I also think I might have subconsciously been trying to keep pace with my opponent, because he was also playing a little slow, and I think that made me think that I also could play slow. But I shouldn't have done that. I should have, because again, my time was really starting to trickle down here, and I played a5. Which I think was good, or maybe I think it was the best move even, because yeah, this is not great to have our pawns double isolated d pawns here. Yeah, that's pretty terrible. So yeah, I played a5. Whoops. Played a5. And he went knight d3. Nothing has changed. I still can't take the knight because g4 is still a problem. Oh, shoot. There's people knocking on at my door, and I'm going to ignore them because I have a no solicitor sign on my door, so they shouldn't be knocking anyways. Today's Sunday. I think they're collecting bottles. It's like, looks like two teens here. Yeah. Yeah. It's a friendly sign too. It says like, no solicitors, neighbors, friends, and family welcome. But yeah, you got to read the sign, people. Okay. So yeah, they're still at my door, so it's a little bit distracting. Knight d3, and I've got my window right there. Like you can see with the lights coming through, that's the window by the front door. And yeah, anyways. Yeah, so I thought for 6 minutes on my next move, which was a mistake. I played g6. The funny thing is, in many of my recent tournament games, I actually played like a similar move, like g3 or g6, and it ended up being a mistake. In fact, round one, was I white? Yeah, in round one, I did play g3, which was a mistake because of g5. And then in this game, g6 is a mistake. And I think there might have even been another game. But I really have to be careful about this type of move. And so it wasn't like catastrophic, but it is a bit of a mistake. Okay, I think they're gone. Yeah, so better was just simply taking the knight. I should have just played quicker and simpler. So I should have just taken on d4, but I wasn't sure about the resulting position here. Yeah, like after g4. Yeah, apparently this was better. I did consider this. I certainly considered this. I'm not sure the best way to follow up if we just go like b5. Let's put on the engine. Yeah, b5 was best. But there's also just like knight b5 or rook e3. Going to turn off the engine. Yeah, I did consider this. And then if he takes on h4, he has two pairs of double pawns here. But even though that does exist, I wasn't sure because I was a little bit scared of the open g file, like rook g1, queen g2, and I guess I was safe here because I can just play h6 and he really doesn't have anything. But then there's queen g6, and yeah, I don't know. I got a little bit nervous of that, so I didn't go for it. But that was the better way to play. But yeah, instead I played g6, and he took on e5. I recaptured, and he plays knight e2. By the way, I forgot to mention. Well, okay, at this point, got my score sheets here. Okay, well, here I played knight f6, okay? And after knight f6, yeah, I was down to 29 minutes, and he had 25 minutes. So it's only moved 24. And yeah, reflecting on this now, I really played way too slow. And I think most of that was that because my opponent was playing slowly too, I just didn't notice it. That's honestly because he was also playing slow. I at the time I thought that we were both kind of okay, but that's really not the case. It's moved 24, and we both spent over an hour each already. So, God, I really needed to play quicker. Also, around this point, the hotel was actually out of water. I guess because it was the last round, they didn't refill it again. And I actually wanted some. So it was kind of just slightly frustrating. I wasn't super thirsty, but it's just nice to have some water by your side to sip on. And it's kind of frustrating. It's a huge ballroom, and they were completely out of water. They didn't refill it at all. So it's a slight bummer. My opponent played queen g5. Which, when you first played it, didn't really bother me. But then the more I looked at it, it was slightly annoying. Because he's attacking the knight, and I have to defend it. And also, queen h6 was a little bit of a annoyance too. So I played queen d6. He plays rook he1. I played king g7, which was unnecessary, apparently. Again, I was kind of thinking of like to stop him from playing queen h6 and also to be able to play h6, but maybe it was a little too slow. King g7 rather. Yeah, maybe it was a little too slow because queen h6 doesn't actually hurt me, but it was kind of scary. A lot, like, I don't know, I was kind of scared of then him running the pawns or something. But I have many ways to defend that, so it wasn't actually necessary. But it wasn't really a mistake. It just was unnecessary. He played f4, and I played e4. Right, I didn't want to take because that just lets his knights hop in, and he's opening up lines against my king. Right, I do not want to open up that f file for him. He played knight e5, which was a little bit of an inaccuracy. And then I played knight e6, attacking his queen. So he retreats to h4, and I played rook ac8. Which I think here I was debating which rook to move. Right? It's always hard to decide. But I think I ended up choosing the a rook because I think I felt that the e rook might be necessary to keep back to help defend. Yeah, that's basically the reasoning. So after rook ac8, we were both neck and neck on the clock with 21 minutes left each. And here he played f5. Blunder. Yeah, it was very strange. And so what the hell was this? Did he blunder? Or was this like a brilliancy? Like, what is this? f5. And I was really like, I think I had a weird look. I was probably like, my expression was like this, like I was really frowning upon it. And I was like, I was like, whoa, what's this? It looks like he just blundered. He did actually. The funny thing is he's normally a very expressive player, but he actually had a poker face on. So I think I think it was a blunder, like at the time. And he knew it. Well, obviously he can spot that it's probably a blunder, but then suddenly his face is stone cold. So at the time I was thinking, okay, it looks like he did just blunder. Very surprising because that's just dropping a piece, or a pawn. And I spent 3 minutes on my reply. And instead of winning the pawn by trading knights first, for example, this, whoops. Yeah, sorry. And then taking, I'm not sure how I would recapture. Maybe it was the rook. So something like this. Instead of going for that pawn, I decided to be greedy in a good way and go for the knight by trapping it first by playing g takes. Okay, come on. Work with me here. Oh, come on. Chat space. Make the move. No. Oh, no. Let me undo. Okay, there we go. There we go. Sorry. Chat space is kind of hard to work with by taking on f5. However, this was actually a blunder. So, yeah, sorry for being a little bit scattered here. But does that make sense so far? Let me just recap. So I didn't want to take the knight because even though that wins a pawn for us after he recaptures and then I take his pawn, I wanted to actually just win the knight outright. And so I took the pawn first because his knight is actually trapped and it can't escape. So being a little bit patient and taking on f5 first, because there's no way for him to save the knight. And so that's what I played in the game. But this is a blunder. And I'd like you to try to find out why. Why is this a blunder? And yeah, you can pause the video if you didn't find it already. Now, looking at it from white's perspective, I think it's a lot easier to see. It's a lot harder to see from black's perspective, in my opinion. So if I flip the board, maybe you can see it now. So white to move and take advantage of my mistake here. Okay, so I'm going to flip the board. So it's actually a queen sack. Queen h6. And yeah, neither of us saw this. We were burned out, I guess. The point being, if we take the queen, which we basically have to, because if I don't take the queen, then I'm losing the knight, right? He just takes on f6. So if I take the queen, then there's a fork here. Knight f7. And his knight not only frees itself, but it will end up with a fork and he'll be up the exchange. So not only does he escape, but yeah, whoops, I have to move the king first. And then, yeah, he's going to win a rook for the knight. So yeah, we both missed that. I think it's easy for black to miss that here. You know, we both have 21 minutes left. I'm kind of tired. I think it is pretty easy to miss that. But again, from white's perspective, once that's on the board here, shoot, I showed the next move. But I think it's easier to see from white's perspective. Anyways, he didn't go for the queen sack. He played g4. So yeah, again, he missed it as well. And I took the knight. And I'm up a knight. And I was feeling pretty good. And I was still kind of shocked that he blundered the knight. He took on f5. I retreated to knight f8. So I spent 5 minutes on this move. Again, not good time management. I just was not thinking about my clock this whole game. The entire game, I was not thinking about it. Like I was looking at it. I knew what my time was, but I didn't think that I was actually playing slow. And after this move, I was down to 12 minutes. I was down to 12 minutes. And I was actually really nervous at this point. I get nervous when I'm winning like this. Because he gave me a free knight. And it rattles me. Like if I am given a gift like that. Because I don't want to screw it up. And that actually puts a lot of pressure on me. And so I was really nervous. And I was also really tired and excited about being up a knight here. I didn't want to blunder. But yeah, playing slow was hurting me. So I decided I played knight f8. It's not the best move, but it's an okay move. I just wanted to be really safe. I wanted everything to be protected. I believe you can put the knight pretty much anywhere here. But yeah, I just wanted to keep things really safe. And he played rook f1. Which I was surprised about. I was like positive he's going to play rook g1 here, just cutting my king off. But he played rook f1, which actually does have some bite to it. I can't remember why. I mean, it does help support knight f4, but he could also just play knight f4 anyways. Yeah, so that's kind of an interesting move. Yeah, well, yeah, he might have had an idea too of moving the queen to like to the G file and give check, and then move the knight in. Maybe that might have been part of it. Anyways, I went king h8, just getting off the G file proactively, and he played knight f4. Oh yeah, this is probably his plan. So he keeps the queen on the H file, and then knight g3, knight g6 is a threat. So rook f1 defends the knight. No, wait, does that make sense? That doesn't make sense. No, that doesn't make sense, because he could have just done that anyways. Yeah, so I don't know. The rook f1 was kind of strange. Okay, anyways, king h8, knight f4. I played rook c7, which I played very quickly, and I'm kind of happy about. Or maybe not happy. I mean, it was, I don't know, it was a nice, simple defensive measure. Plus, I still keep pressure along the c file. And he went knight g6, check. I recapture, because otherwise he's going to take my queen. He takes with the f pawn. Oh yeah, I wonder, did he calculate this? If so, that's pretty good foresight, because after he recaptures, that rook on f1 now shows itself on attacking the knight. So maybe that was his plan all along. And again, if so, that's kudos to him, because that was at this, we're already kind of burned out at this point, and there wasn't a whole lot of time on the clock. So yeah, here I played rook f8, just defending the knight. And here, this is move 36 right now. My opponent was down to 5 minutes, and I had 8. And out of, I forget the total count of players in the hall, but there were maybe about 270 players, I think. There were only a few boards still playing. So we were literally one of the last remaining players in the whole tournament. Everyone else kind of went home. And yeah, I think there were maybe two or three more boards that were playing at this point. And yeah, we were really tired. I was still kind of in the back of my mind thinking about the long trek home I would have to endure. And yeah, still no water. Yeah, so it was kind of brutal. Like, I didn't really feel good. My opponent went queen h6. Right, threatening my rook, which honestly I didn't see at first. I didn't see this at first. Yeah, because I think I was even planning stuff like oh no, not rook g8, but I forget what I was thinking here. It didn't take me too long to notice it, but I didn't notice it immediately. Yeah, because I think I was considering queen h5 for a little bit, and then I'm like, whoa, wait a second. Yeah, so I played rook g7, and he played rook f2, preparing to double up, and I played e3, just pushing a pawn, attacking the rook, trying to give him more problems. He played rook f3, and I played d4. So yeah, I mean, I'm feeling pretty good. I mean, I'm up a full piece, and these pawns by themselves are very dangerous. This is just completely winning for black. Plus, I was up on the clock. He went g takes h7. I continued to push my pawn. And around this point, Ilan gestured to a tournament helper and was saying, we need score sheets. We need score sheets. Actually, like verbally out loud. And can we get more score sheets, please? Like he was friendly about it, but very assertive, and he was kind of panicking. Yeah, he was really panicked. I think. Well, this is move 40, and the score sheets go to move 50. Okay, so this is move 40. The score sheets go to move 50. So we still had about this much time here, or this much space left. He was panicking a bit. I guess he didn't know that you can actually pause like if you go to move 50 here, or even like 49, you can actually pause the clock and go up and get 2 more score sheets yourself. You don't have to call out to the arbiter. Yeah. Now, the funny thing is, one of the helpers, there were different helpers and volunteer helpers that were that were helping like the main head arbiter. And one of the young helpers came. I mean, I say young, but I don't know. She was probably like 16 or 18, maybe around that age. And maybe even older. I'm so old now, I can't even tell. Maybe she was 20. I mean, and she came and she brought my opponent an extra score sheet, but not for me. And I was like, what? Come on, what the hell? Do we each have to separately ask for a score sheet? Why would you give just him one? Obviously, I need one too. And so we actually played like I don't know how many more moves we played or how much longer it was. I mean, it was maybe another few minutes after this, but I think we might have played like 2 or 3 more moves. And then she did come back and give me one. But it's kind of strange that she just gave him one first. And it did kind of worry me a little bit. I mean, again, I knew that I could pause the clock and go up, but that's still kind of annoying because then you get up, you kind of lose your focus a little bit. And at the same time, the opponent can still think while you go up and get a score sheet. And that might take me 2 minutes to get a score sheet. To walk there and back alone might take 30 seconds. It's a big haul. And then also to find where they have score sheets. So anyways, it's kind of weird. My opponent played Rookie 1. And then I played Queen G5, which I was debating about because I often have an issue of trading queens too early when I'm winning. And unfortunately, this was no exception. This was a blunder. Yeah, this happens too frequently. And I knew before I played it that, like, should I trade queens here? Like, I'm up at night. Often this can get me into trouble. Part of it is because time was starting to become an issue. And I don't know, I thought that would be enough. But this was actually a blunder because this gives white a lot of drawing chances here, believe it or not. So better was anything. Any non-queen trading move. Part of why I do this is because I'm always so scared of, ironically, I'm scared of blundering if I don't trade queens. Because there's pressure on me right now, and I don't know, I'm scared of blundering a piece. But yeah, this was actually a poor strategical decision. So he traded, and I recaptured, and then my opponent blundered. Actually, okay, to rewind a little bit, to be fair, the reason here that it is a blunder is actually because of a specific tactic. It's not actually because of just trading queens. So I guess you can give me a bit of leeway on that. But yeah, the reason that this was a blunder, and my opponent blundered back, so he recaptured the pawn. He was probably very happy to get rid of this annoying pawn for him. But he actually has the tactic here, but you can pause the video if you want to try to find it. But the problem, sorry, that's not what I meant. I had a tactic here if he takes the pawn. And the tactic So here you can pause the video if you want to try to find it. Hopefully you didn't do that before. Yeah, so I could have given check. He has to move the king, and then I have knight e4, and I'm up the exchange. Well, I'm already up a piece, so yeah, but I win the exchange here, right? Because of the discovery on his rook, and then he can take my knight. And I just didn't see that. I was tired, didn't have much time. Yeah, so neither of us saw that. So he took on e2, and so instead of this, better was rook f2. I think there were other moves as well, but that's simplest. Yeah, I didn't see it, so I took on h7. And I'm very surprised here because at the time, like in the game, I thought, yeah, okay, this is gonna take a little bit of work, but I'm up a full piece for a pawn. Like this, it'll take a bit of work, but this is completely winning. But actually, the computer says that this is basically close to equal. Black has a slight edge, but not much. Not much. I can't remember what the eval is. I think it's like -1. Let me turn on the engine. Okay, yeah, it's about -1.2, -1.3. Yeah, -1.2-ish. So it's just a small edge for black, and that's very surprising to me. Yeah, I thought 2 rooks and a knight against 2 rooks, it should be pretty easily winning, or at least an overwhelming advantage. My opponent played rook h3, and I just want to see how much time we had here. Yeah, so I had 4 minutes. My opponent had 5 minutes, and we're both tired again. And at this point, like maybe one other game going on, if any. We might be the last game at this time. And I played king g7. I saw no dangers here. I was making the moves pretty quickly at this point, and writing down the moves. There's not a whole lot of time for that, so not a whole lot of time to think here. But this is a blunder, a huge blunder. I saw no dangers here. Maybe not a huge blunder, but it's a blunder. I saw no dangers here, and I was only able to give a little bit of time to think to it since I was down to 4 minutes. But I just didn't see White's very obvious simple tactic. In my notes here, I write, post game, it does make me feel better that I was only down a little bit. That I was only a little bit better here had I not played king g7. Because I again during the game I thought I was just completely winning still. But yeah, this just allows rook e7. And as soon as he played it, I couldn't believe it. And I was so disgusted with myself. Just blowing a completely, at the time, what I had thought was a completely winning position. And I just couldn't believe it. So any other move would have been better, like king g8, for example. But yeah, I just did not see rook e7. So I played king g6. Because had I blocked with the rook, that's not going to be any better because he just takes my knight. All right. So, whoops. I played king g6. He recaptured with the h pawn, or the h rook. Rook f1. Check. King d2. And yeah, this is move 47. This video alone is an hour so far. Kudos to you if you're still watching this. So you can imagine how tired we were in the game. And this was the second round of the day, right? This is the second round. Okay. Rook g2 check. The only drawing move. Okay, let me, my voice is getting strained now from talking nonstop. So rook g2, king d3, rook d1. Again, the only drawing move. So I was playing clutch moves here. King e4, rook e2 check, king d5. By the way, all of these moves were annoying because, well, I'll say that again in a few moves from here. So rook takes c2. He played rook hg7 check. I went king h6. And he played rook g8. And at this point, I was panicking. I was just straight up panicking at this point. We each had 2 minutes on the clock at this point. And when you're this low over the board, you really have almost no time to think, honestly. You have almost no time to think, physically make a move, hit the clock, write down your opponent, like your move and your opponent's move. Again, if you haven't played over the board and you haven't been in this situation, it can be difficult to kind of understand that. Because if you play online, 2 minutes here is forever, and you can think clearly for the most part, right? It's a lot of time. There is increment, right? There's a lot of time to think of different ideas. But over the board, yeah, because your head is down, writing. You're not looking at the board nonstop. That's a real thing. Because you look down, you have to, your eyes are down on your score sheet, writing down the moves. Then you look back up, try to see what's going on. You have to keep an eye on the clock. And then there's still people walking around. It's pretty chaotic. And here I wasn't sure if I should have given a check or pushed the pawn. I just couldn't decide, didn't have enough experience in this type of position. Pushing the pawn, I was thinking might be a good option just to give white pressure, and we're close to winning if we can get that closer to the promotion square. At the same time, I was also getting close to getting checkmated myself. So I don't know. I'm not sure if I was scared of like this or, I don't know. It was a hard decision. I ended up going for rook c5 check. He played king d6. And again, I wasn't sure if I should push the pawn or just keep giving checks. What to do. I didn't know. I played rook cd1. He played rook e4, threatening the pawn. And it's not a mate threat, but I think this wins the rook, right? Because check, I can block it. And then, so he's threatening to win my rook. And for the rest of the game, I was down to 1 minute. So it was pure panic at this point. Writing down the moves, trying to find moves on the board. I played rook c6 check. He played king d5. I went to repeat. He played king d6. And so here, man, my jaw is sore from talking. Like, okay, so king d6. Yeah, when he played this, I thought, okay, looks like I have a decision to make here if I want to go for a draw or not. Do I have winning chances? Can I push that pawn and promote it? Do I want to take the draw, or do I want to try for a win? I do have a pawn just 3 squares away from queening, but my king is also kind of precariously placed. I didn't want to risk it because I had already blundered my knight, which is not a good sign. And I thought scoring 3.5 out of 6 is not, I mean, it's better than scoring 3 out of 6, potentially. And yeah, so I did play rook c6 check. And my opponent played king d5. And I repeated. And then he took the pawn, which shocked me. It shocked me at the time. In hindsight, it makes total sense. But at the time, this shocked me. I was like, what? Whoa, he's playing for a win? How dare he? Yeah, and I was very surprised. But in hindsight, it makes total sense because he's just up a pawn. He's going to pass pawn here. So why wouldn't he? Yeah, but I think because I was winning just not too long ago when I had the extra knight, I was surprised that he was actually trying to push for a win here. But yeah, it makes total sense that he would just take the pawn. I gave a check on d1. He went king e3. I played rook e1. He played king f3. I went rook f5 check. I really had no time to think about these moves. Again, I was under a minute for the rest of the game. The most I could do here was hope that I could muster out a draw. I was already kind of feeling like I almost want to throw up. It wasn't to that degree, but I was not feeling good. Like how I lost round 5, and then round 6, I was up a knight and just completely winning, and then I dropped the knight, and I was still a little bit better, and then I'm just getting worse and worse and worse, and now I'm struggling. I'm struggling to get a draw. Like a draw at this point would have been a good result for me. And so he played king g4. And I went rook g5 check, which is the blunder. It was going to happen sooner or later. Necessary was rook ef1. That's the only move. But at this point, I was playing on fumes. It's I was lucky I was conscious. This is move 61 now. So I had to play rook ef1. But this loses again. It's easier to see now. But at the time, I was exhausted and barely had enough time to write down the moves without flagging. So he just simply takes. I took this rook. I could have done it this way as well, but I thought taking on e4, there's potential for him to even honestly. I had so little time to actually think that I actually thought this might even be winning. In fact, I think I did think that, to be honest. I think that I actually turned the game around and thought that this was winning. I just did not see king f5. Yeah, I remember these thoughts now. Yeah, I remember thinking even around here, I think that might have even been why I played rook g5. Yeah, that's why I played rook g5. And then I thought, wow, I can't believe. But he actually has two moves here. He could also just go king f3. Yeah, so I wasn't winning, but that shows you how my mind was not in the right place here. But he went king f5. I briefly considered rook e5, but that wouldn't have helped me because if I put that on the board, he has this outside pass pawn. He just eats up my pawns. So I tried to keep the rook on the board, hoping for a miracle. He played rook g6. By the way, I forgot to mention it, but back here, way back here, after I blundered the knight, I think it was as soon as he played rook h3. No. I think it was after he took. I think it was after. It might have been after rook h3. It was somewhere around here. My opponent did something that annoyed me a little. It's not a big deal, but he let out a huge sigh, like a huge sigh, and then actually verbally said something like "crazy game," which. He was just trying to expel energy, but yeah, you shouldn't really do that. It's distracting to your opponent. It didn't really bother me that much, but I don't know. I easily get very distracted. So it was, yeah, it's not a big deal. I'm just mentioning it for story's sake. Okay. Let me get back to the position though. So yeah, so I played rook e2. He played rook g6 check. And at this point, he's happy. He's relaxed. He's kind of dancing. He wasn't actually dancing, like, but almost. He was happy. He was kind of looking around, and he was very. You could tell he was happy. I played King H5. I didn't resign here just because I had a minute on the clock. I gotta try a little bit. I gotta try for something. He took on B6. I gave a check, and then took on H2. I know I'm losing, but I just wanted to play it out a little bit. I did blunder, and I knew he was tired too, so kept playing a little bit here. King D4. I played A4. Because there's still some hope. If he's not careful and he just gets lazy and takes the pawn, I think this might be a draw. I don't know though. My king is so far away, but I was hoping for something. He goes King C3. I went Rook H4. Rook B4. This is move 69. Avoiding the trade. Rook H2. King B5. And here I've resigned. Yeah, tough. That was a very, very tough loss. Being up in that completely winning position, up a full night, and with those two great central pawns, and irregardless of what actually happened in the game, losing round 5 and round 6 really hurts. And overall, a bad tournament. Scoring 3 out of 6 in the under 1800 section. It is a tough tournament. The BC Open, you get a lot of strong players there. It was a large turnout. And I was one of the higher seeds. I forget what I was going into the tournament, but I think I was like maybe seeded like number 6 or so. And so to finish 3 out of 6 is really bad. And I ended up dropping 51 points. I actually dropped like 30 points, something like 30 points in the previous tournament. And then I dropped another 51 points here. So after this tournament, my rating is now 1571, which is embarrassing to say, but that's what it is. And so my YouTube channel is all about my journey as an adult improver, trying to improve. But that's where I am. That's what happened. So drop down to 1571. It's tough. Like I lost first round against a 1300 who I think is still undefeated. Yeah, he's still undefeated. And then I lost round 5 to another 1300 who ended up placing 3rd in this tournament, gaining 250 points. So obviously underrated. And he played a perfect game. And then I lost round 6 to 1500. So it's not going to hurt. It didn't hurt as much because 1500 is better than a 1300. But all of that kind of knocked my rating down. If I wanted to really gain rating, though, I could have played up a section in this tournament. Could I have? Yeah, I could have. Yeah, I definitely could have. I could have played up a section, and even if I performed terribly in that, my rating loss would have been somewhat minimal. So if I wanted to play for rating, I could have played up a section, but I decided to take the chance and try to go for a trophy. And unfortunately, it didn't work out. And so I lost rating. Yeah, so that marks the end of my recap from the 2024 BC Open. Unfortunately, a poor performance, but that happens, and you just have to try to keep going, learn from the mistakes, and just trying to do better next time. So I hope you enjoyed the series from this tournament. Yeah, I'm going to end it there and rest my voice now. Okay, thanks for watching. See you next time.